everybody, it is Calxiyn here. If you guys enjoy this video, you guys should become patrons over on Patreon. Hunter, you don't have to... Hunter, you don't have to wear those. I was trying to take your headphones off. Okay, this is going very well. Anyway, you guys should become patrons over on Patreon.
Do you think
if you guys
we
want to
have,
support
like,
the
Grims
channel.
living in the basement that make us fuck up openings?
Maybe. Maybe. It's possible. It's possible.
Okay, so RWBY episode 6?
Yes.
Okay.
You guys should subscribe, by the way.
I felt like I've said this more times in this season than I ever have in any other season, like, ever, but I feel like we're constantly getting the best episodes RWBYs have ever given, like, back to back.
Like, the season?
This has certainly been one of them. Like, I thought the opening episode to this season was the best opening ever. Then there was the History of Remnant, which I thought was an amazing episode, and then this happened, which I also thought was an amazing episode, and it's just one after another and after another. I'm like, so eventually this is gonna stop, right? But so if you wanted a quick early review go again, I think they're doing amazing right now.
I agree, and like parts of this episode were like predictable, obviously. Like we predicted, okay, something's making them tired in the cellar, like,
but it was creepy nonetheless.
Yeah, like, oh, they're gonna have to fight it and run and blah blah blah. So a lot of people were like, Cal, this episode was too predictable, but at the same time, not everything needs to be some shocking, like, twist and all of that stuff. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes things can just be...
Just because I predicted it, or we predicted it, doesn't mean it was still not entertaining, or
yeah, we don't need to be surprised all the time. Does that make sense? Like, I don't care about being, like, shocked, you know what I mean? Or, like, I guess how people say shocked but not surprised, like, that's how I feel like our reaction was, sort of, because obviously we knew where things were going, but we were still pretty shook, like, while we were watching it, if that makes sense. At least that's what I think. So let's just start at the top, I guess. So Maria is searching, basically, for clues. Like, she's reading through the diary to try and figure out what the fuck was happening. So... Bildaby or Bartleby was the dude's name. I don't know if that has any sort of significance, but I'm gonna look it up. Where's my phone? Oh, it's over here. Okay, so I'm gonna look up Bartleby and see if that gives us any results.
Down in one of the books she's reading were, in fact, which I thought was a great device to use in the episode.
What, the diaries?
She was looking at the diaries and she was slowly learning the history of this place.
Bartle.
Which, my God. That was, like, all, like, the things you need for, like, a classic haunted house horror. You know, spooky thing in the basement, like, history of the house that is slowly unfurling as the episode go, folly of man. It's really quite wonderful. I got such great vibes from it. Bartleby.
Bartleby meaning son of furrow. What does that mean?
Son of furrow?
What is the meaning of Bartleby? Bartleby, the...
sort of passive resistance.
Is a story of passive resistance? Okay, that's a book.
Who was what is the
Who was Bartleby?
Bartleby. So it's just a very old book.
Yeah, a very old book, a very old person. But I'm wondering about the actual name and how it's a color name.
We spent all those different
Let's look at Nameberry. Son of the Furrow. A surname probably related to Bartholomew. Okay, son of Furrow. So it's a boy's name. Okay.
I feel like
that's all boring.
I feel like we've learned that after going through all the different German fairy tales and shit, and it turned out to see what was the monster.
And it wasn't even close to anything.
And it turned out just to be depression monsters that
rip all of the headless horseman people. We weren't on that train. Oh, so this is interesting from the experts. Bartleby. That's his last name. The Skenniver is a famous Herman Melville character whose surprisingly powerful refrain was, "I would prefer not to." Or in the immortal words of a 2-year-old, no. Putting that aside, uniquely literary, okay, whatever.
So I would prefer not to, as in, wait, no, dogma.
Anyway. You can read that. But basically, that's an interesting thing that that is his name if it's all about, like, I would prefer not. I'm tired.
In the 1999 film Dogma, Bartleby is a fallen angel played by Ben Affleck. I've seen that one.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think, okay.
Anyway,
so
we've been going on for this guy's name a while, but that's funny. It's because I would rather not. Right?
That's coincidental.
That's interesting. I think that's nice. And so he's basically the head of the farm, and he's writing diaries, right? And as somebody who writes a lot of diaries, like, that's, like, my dream, is, like, for someone to, like, read through all my diaries when I'm, like, long and dead and just find my life so interesting.
I intend to sell your diaries to people for millions of dollars.
When?
After you've killed people.
Okay. Just saying. Just putting that out there.
Or like this YouTube channel has evolved into a cult.
Anyway.
And you had your own Waco level event.
So RWBY tries to have like a heart-to-heart with Crow, like, hey, you know you can talk to us, right? Or Yang. Or whoever, and he's just like, nah, bitch. Like, he just doesn't give a shit. So apparently, so he says something, so the Grimm made it all harder, and that's our first hint at something wrong. So Maria says he always would come up with new schemes to overcome the odds, and so that's our first hint, because later, right, he's doing this because he wanted to cut down on Grimm attacks, like, he wanted to cut down on the fact that he had to use huntsmen to protect the farm, and so the fact that Grimm were sort of the cause of slowing down farming and all of his problems. Like, that's just sort of interesting, right? I'm just like, is my head, like,
huge.
Proportional? Symmetrical, Hunter! What the fuck? What does that mean?
It's not huge. I was about to say not huge, because you've complained about having a big forehead in your wigs before. I'm not mean. I just thought that.
Okay. Anyway, so RWBY, like, is like, everybody go to bed, and Maria's like, go to bed, fuck you. No, like, she just goes and sits down.
I'm an old woman.
But RWBY, like, sort of smiles, and she's just like, she really likes Maria, I think. She likes Maria's spirit.
Everyone likes Maria.
So that was kind of interesting. RWBY has to throw a bottle against the wall to wake up Crow. She's getting pretty aggressive, and so that's sort of interesting for her characterization right there. Weiss welded the bauble thing onto Yang's motorcycle, and I just love that Weiss just knows how to do that. I mean, it's not that hard.
Every good knows how to weld.
You just gotta, like, melt it, right, with her
I feel
glyphs. Like, it's not that
That's
complicated,
the type
is it?
of thing that would seem hard until you try to weld something and it becomes quite difficult.
Anyway, you mean seem easy, because you said seem hard. Unless it gets harder, like, I don't know. So everybody's tired, right? Even Oscar's, like, falling asleep.
Before they were settled, and now they were like, oh, I am fucking
Well,
sleepy.
at first I was just like, oh, yeah, of course they're tired. They haven't had breakfast, because Blake is like, man, maybe breakfast will, like, fix us. And then Oscar was like, do you want to make it? And Blake was like, no. What a mood, though. Weiss was tired, and I feel like that's because she was close to the cellar, right? Because Weiss was getting close to the cellar, and she was getting tired last episode. And Yang and Blake were on sort of the other side of the farm, maybe where there were more collective of these Grimm, and maybe that's why they were more tired. Does that make sense? Right? Yeah, so Crow's bad luck pops the tire, which is just fucking fantastic. I mean,
Are you a beacon for bad luck? And then Crow looks to the camera like, you may be asking
and everybody sort of, like, is hypnotized almost. Like, their pupils get really large and you can see that. I noticed that, like, their eyes get less shiny. Yeah, and
like,
that
RWBY
too.
still had to listen to it. And everything seems slower, like they're moving as though they experience a legitimate weight. Like, they're all, like, it's like they're walking, like, every scene is going on underwater.
And
it has this very creepy effect that you slowly realize is occurring until you realize, okay, something's
Even though Yang is tired, she still makes a good point. Like, she says, like, Ozpin just put them under the schools, but in the middle of nowhere it would take years, right? Like, calling out Ozpin a little bit, because, like, obviously, like, putting the relics in, like, a very findable place wasn't exactly one of his best ideas, even if it was guarded by huntsmen.
Yeah, I'm about
you know
to say,
I mean?
but it's
so
also
Yang kind of called him out.
with the fuzz. Like, they keep a lot of gold in Fort Knox, but they also keep a lot of men with assault rifles.
Anyway, they tried. So you can see their eyes change as the pupils. You can even see RWBY's eyes start to get bigger, which is pretty interesting. So it seems like basically this guy's solution was to bring like 1 or 2 apathy just to calm people down, and I'm like, do you guys not have drugs? Like, what would have been the problem with just drugging everybody and making a cult?
Tablet of Xanax.
Yeah, or even just, like, do y'all not have weed? Like, what was going through this guy's mind? No, seriously! What was going through this guy's mind that he was such a fucking idiot,
weed calms some people down. Weed does not you do not want someone to freak out and, like, have a moment on weed when, like, there's demons that could hunt down.
All I'm asking
I'm a nervous person
is
naturally.
why was this idiot, like, why...
every, like, monster from 100, like, kilometers... would be like, Hunter's high, let's go.
Why would Barnaby be like, you know, I know what to do. I'll just take one of these Grimm, lock it in my basement, and so then we won't attract any more Grimm. Like, what sort of fucking thought process? Like, no, that doesn't make any sense, Barnaby. Like, what the fuck are you doing?
You know, you watch Walking Dead. They do the thing where they chain up zombies.
Yeah, but she keeps them to fight other zombies.
No, she doesn't. She just keeps them as camouflage.
Oh.
Because when she's with the zombies...
But the Grimm don't care. Like, the Grimm don't have that same effect.
It's the same general concept. I'm saying it was an okay plan.
No, it wasn't.
Executed very, very poorly.
No.
It is a feasible plan.
First of all, why would you just assume that the other Grimm wouldn't try to find the two missing from their pack, right? Because obviously they seem like wolves or something.
Maybe I would go through more preliminary
tests. First of all. Okay, second of all, like, why use Grimm? Why not use drugs? That's basically what I'm asking. I'm asking, is there not anything in Remnant that would be an appropriate substitute? Like,
imagine
you know what I mean?
Imagine if, like, they walked into, like, a stoner's estate.
Like, there's no, like, jingle jangle in here. Like, you know what I mean? That's from Riverdale.
Yeah, no,
anyway.
Jingle Jangle isn't one a real drug, and two, do they have marijuana in RWBY?
I don't know, but that's what I'm asking. I'm like, what was going through this guy's mind where he was like, well, the Grimm are the only solution. No, you idiot. Like, just, if you're gonna make a cult, just get everybody to drink the fucking Kool-Aid, alright? And you'll be fine.
Imagine if, like, they found a bunch, like, a giant bag of weed in the basement.
Oh, God.
And Weiss is just like, alright, I got this, gets out, like, red
And it
dust,
seems like what happened was, they brought those two apathy in, he put them in the cellar, right? And then the other ones came in through the waterway, and then he sealed it, so we basically sealed all these Grimm in the bottom of the fucking farm. Why?
And they sucked her.
Why, though? What the fuck, guys? Like, what are you doing? Anyway... They look like Slendermen, sort of.
Yes,
Hunter
they do.
said that.
They look very Slenderman-y. Which, I mean,
Which doesn't fit in with, like, Slenderman lore or whatever.
I don't know what Slenderman lore is.
Well,
it's been a while since 2013 when we all cared about Slenderman to an nth degree. I just generally like designs where people are very tall and thin, skinny, and have very long limbs. I like those designs. Maybe because I relate to them at a personal level, I don't know. Cal, you're so funny, Cal. You're so funny.
Anyway, everyone snaps out of it, though, when they see the Grimm for the first time, like, or when Yang hears Ruby scream, so it seems like there are things that happen that could have snapped them out a bit more.
Yes.
And you see the huntsman that was in the photo in the mines. His corpse is in the mines, which I thought was a really nice detail. And it shows Ruby is really paying attention. Ruby's really paying attention to detail, at least in my opinion. And the
world building, so you know, like, he was like, I'm gonna save everyone. He died, and
he just
either he went like no one gave a shit, and they all just went to bed anyways.
I guess not. This is basically just, like, depression. Like, they all feel heavy and, like, weak and, like, all that stuff.
It's very unsubtly about depression. They're called apathy, the monsters.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's what people have named them, right?
Yes.
I wonder if, like, Salem has just, like, made a bunch of Grimm, and so she's just been making things that she feels.
Now you know how I feel.
Now you know. So Blake is the first one that falls over, I guess because she was the closest to them. Or maybe she's just the most susceptible. I don't know. But she basically
she's just
falls
like,
over
I'm
first,
already very sad.
And she's just, like, she's just staring. Like, she has this, like...
Yeah, she zones right out.
Yeah,
like,
she just zones right out, right?
Her eyes, I've noticed that what they did, they made the eyes less sparkly. So she does not have sparkly eyes.
And her eyes got really big. It's like when Penny died and her eyes just slowly got bigger. That's what it reminded me of. Ruby just zaps the Grimm because she's upset about Blake.
Well, she's like, Blake's about to die, just like Pyrrha was about to die, and she uses... It seemed to me like it wasn't a full power.
It wasn't a full power Silver Eyes.
Because maybe it wasn't close, maybe that was like a one-time, like, ooh, real power, I'm hyped up. I just ran up the side.
Everybody snaps out for a second after seeing the light, though, so that obviously affected the Grimm somehow.
So it hurts the Grimm.
I think it froze them more for a second, because the dragon is frozen atop of Beacon Towers, allegedly, apparently. So Yang actually sees the stairs longer than the stairs actually are, which I thought was a good thing, is that, like, when she's looking at them, they get longer and longer even though they're not, which I feel like is another sort of, I guess, like, depression metaphor, but also just, like, an interesting thing in general, right? Like, just, like, perception versus reality stuff.
And then
and Maria's like, what color are your eyes? Has she not looked Ruby in the eyes
abuela,
before?
I don't know.
Because everybody thought that the reason why Maria followed Ruby and team
because she already
knew. But if she didn't already know, then why did she follow them? Did she just want to see what was up? Did she just want to go on an adventure? Like, why did she come with them then?
Like,
right?
I can't trust these whippersnappers.
Unless she saw the cane and she knew about Ozpin, right? That could have been something too.
She seems to not know about Oz, but maybe she does because she knows a lot about Grimm. So maybe she does know something. About this.
And so I was thinking, okay, well, if she didn't see Ruby's eyes, what if she saw Ozpin's cane and wanted to investigate?
He's like an ex-huntsman, so she thought she could help them out, and she's
then
like,
she just
like, you won't be the boss of me. Like, she seemed like the type of person just to do that because people wouldn't want her to do it.
Maybe.
I don't know. But yeah, so then you get her to, like, I thought was like one of my favorite moments of the episode was Maria talking to Ruby, being like,
at first I was confused because Maria said, don't, like, you have family, you have friends, and then Maria said, don't think about them, but then on my second watch I realized you have family and friends, don't think about them being the Grimm, because Ruby slightly looks up a bit, which was pretty subtle, which I like, and
you hear the snarling being louder, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, and they also muffle the sound a lot, like, there's a lot of sound design, like, in this episode, which is pretty cool, and then think about your family and friends, how much you love them, and then she says, the way that they make you feel, life is beautiful, life is precious, and must be protected. Which is interesting. Because I'm like, now I guess we kind of have to figure out how the Silver Eyes work. Like, it just seems like the power of love, if that's like, you know what I mean? Like, that's how they're activated, even if that's not exactly necessarily what they meant to do. Does that make sense?
The power of love. It was like the power of feeling good. I don't know.
The power of how your family and friends makes you feel, which is like love and happiness, so it's
security.
My friends are my power!
Maybe it's like the opposite. Maybe because, like,
Silver-Eyed
warriors are the antithesis of the Grimm. The Grimm are attached to
negativity, and Ruby
powered by
positive feelings. Interesting.
Maybe she's like, I knew your mother. You looked like Summer Rose.
Oh, God. Well, she didn't say that before.
Yeah. So maybe, so that kind of shoots a lot of our theories, because maybe she's just a...
I like how they're like, we're leaving, you idiot! Like, Crow's just drinking when all this is happening. Crow is having some issues. Like, we have to do a separate video
But he also
Crow.
Doesn't see the zombies, or, I don't know, they look like zombies. I really like how they're so slow, and, like, they're so slow yet threatening, and everything else is very slow. It's like they're all walking through water and molasses.
That's because they make you move slow, and so they're bringing you down to their level,
so despite, like, there wasn't a lot of movement or a lot of speed, it still felt very tense. It wasn't necessarily a fight,
right? Yeah, but that's not
But it still felt very, very, very tense, and I still dug it a lot.
Weiss burns down the house.
Yeah, and I think Crow didn't see the apathy yet, so he's just like, why the fuck are you doing? And then when they're dragging him, he sees
and he's like,
oh shit. Oh, okay.
Oopsie poopsie. But interesting to note, I don't think that the hands that grab Crow are the apathy hands. The apathy hands have these long, thin white nails, so I think that there may be different Grimm this volume. Even the thing that Ruby was fighting in the sewers doesn't necessarily look like they were maybe it was a collection of apathy, like in the OP, because it's more symbolic in the OP, right? So maybe that bunch of eyes, like, that scene of Ruby fighting them with the scythe, like, that just didn't happen, right? And so I'm sort of wondering if that's a representation of a different Grimm, because the one that grabs Crow and the one that Ruby seems to be fighting seems to have different hands, if that makes sense. And so the hands that pull Crow down look more like the ones that pulled down Hazel, so I wonder if that's a thing later. When they're calling Oscar, you can also hear their voices muffled for a second, because they're inside the house, and then as they get closer, they get louder. I just thought that was a really nice...
He's just
touch.
Like grumbling outside.
You know what I mean? Just because, like...
Also, thank God the dude fixed those wheels in time.
Yeah.
Or else they'd all be screwed. They're just like, let's
all,
like...
What the fuck has Ozpin been doing? He just, he's still in his timeout. He's just like, fuck y'all. Like,
he's fixing the
Ozpin
tire.
could probably have told them what was going on if he was around. Like, I'm guessing Ozpin knows enough about the Grimm.
Ozpin has not been terribly helpful.
I know that, but I'm saying, I'm sure Ozpin knows, like... enough about the Grimm that he could have figured this out long before Maria if he was, like, fucking awake. But he just fucking abandoned everyone to die, so, like, that's great.
I also like the idea that if they didn't fix the wheel, it would be like, alright, so, Yang's gonna ride the bike, then Crow's gonna be on Yang, Blake's on Crow, Weiss is on Blake, I'm on Weiss, Oscar on me, Maria on Oscar, and we're just gonna be like a stack, and we're gonna drive out, make sure we don't hit any electrical lines. Go team.
Okay. So Maria says that those Grimm aren't strong.
Somebody better draw
or like
that. Oh my god.
Furious?
They're not vicious.
Vicious,
they
I think she said.
Your
brain, drain your will to go on. So basically, again, he wanted to cut the cost of the huntsman, right? So he wanted to calm everyone down, and he calmed everyone down a little too much. That's basically it.
But also, that would be like, oh god, what would that? God, what's even like a real world analogy? That's
no one was angry, no one was sad, no one was anything, no one was left. I'm tired. That was the last words that Maria said. So.
Yeah, and then she throws away.
There's also a very slow theme of miracle going on, and she just throws the diary away. She's like, "You fucking idiot."
There's a lot of really great like moments that are small moments, like when she throws away the book as if like throwing away their memory, throwing away these people's mistakes, throwing away. I also like the idea of him using like the overkill of like, all right, we need to calm down. So instead of like medication and Prozac, we're gonna go with monsters that make you feel nothing.
Yeah, that's what I'm like. Idiot.
I'm trying to think of like a real world analogy, but it's kind of like if you had to shave your head, so you take chemotherapy. Like there's other ways to do this.
Remember when I talked about Grim Eclipse being like a heart attack?
Yes. What?
Like this is what this is reminding me of right now. Like, if that makes sense.
Grim Eclipse is a heart attack?
Yeah, I'm taking a screenshot so I can post the thing about Bartleby. No, in another video I described Grim Eclipse as a patient who keeps having a heart attack, but instead of putting it on blood thinner, the doctors just keep trying to revive him over and over again. Right? And so that's what I feel like your nonsense was. Anyway, so I was just taking the screenshot because I was like, oh, I want to show this to people because that's interesting, the Barnaby stuff. But anyway, we're basically almost done. A lot of great
dramatic moments. That was a dramatic moment. Crow being pulled away. Just this episode was so good.
We can't quit until the lamp is safe. Maria should have known, she said.
I also like
How do you know so much about the Grimm, Grandma? Like, how do you know how to activate? There's an interesting moment here, too, where Ruby says, you were able to get me, and then she stops and says, my eyes to do that. It's like she doesn't even consider her eyes a part of her. Right, that she considers it almost separate, because she says me, and then she stops, and she's like, well, it wasn't me, it was my eyes. Like, she almost considers them a little separately, and I thought that was interesting.
She doesn't totally understand it yet. She doesn't feel like she controls it.
And Maria's like, aren't you, like, don't you know, I had silver eyes, what? Like, that's basically what
I like
she said.
how it zooms in and her eyes go wide, that's another
I like how she says, isn't it obvious, because all of us already knew, right? Like, this isn't a secret.
I guess they recognize that people would have guessed the woman.
Well, yeah, we made 2 videos on it, right? We made one about her when she first showed up, silver-eyed, winter maiden, evil person. Yeah, and then we made another one after the OP came out, going into Ruby's eyes, like, that's it. Like, there you go. That's, like, solved, right? So I thought that was sort of interesting. That's it, though. I don't know anything else to talk about.
I really loved this episode.
Yeah, I did too. And I think that, like,
the scenes with the apathy were creepy as hell. And
the question is really, like, where do we go from here? Like, what's now? Like, they're just trying to get to Argus, I guess?
I'm guessing they're gonna get to Argus and they're gonna meet up with everyone.
With Juniper?
They appear to have renewed strength. They're all, like, they're on wheels. They're going faster.
Rip Adam. I almost said Rip Arnold. Rip Adam on the train.
I certainly hope that whole theory are very similar people.
No. Rip Arnold, because he's probably gonna have a heart attack after watching this episode. But I meant Rip Adam being on the train. Like, that theory, I mean, he could have still been on the train with the Juniper part of the train, and that's, like, what I'm holding out hope for. Yeah. At this point.
Maybe we get, maybe, like, the rest, I don't know if people are gonna really like it, but maybe they do a quick Juniper adventure episode.
Yeah, that would be kind of cute.
It would be cute. Maybe if they do a Juniper cute episode alongside with Neo and Cinder getting along.
Yeah. And I don't know, I still think the possibility of Adam being on the Juniper cargo side is still high, and so that would be fun. I'm just saying, because it doesn't look like Adam came out of the RWBY side of the end of the train. Clearly, or else unless he just, like, watched all this happen and
unless
was like, yeah, that's fucked up. Like, Adam's just watching in the forest, he's just like, yikes. That's You know what I mean? And then he just, like, keeps swallowing them. Like, no.
He
I
gets
think
on-
that, if anything, he's on the Juniper side of the train, so I'm looking forward to that. But anyway, I think we're done. So I hope that...
It was a very good episode. I'm very happy.
I hope that you
I'm
guys
so excited
enjoyed.
for more.
I hope that if you guys enjoyed, you guys will become patrons over on Patreon. We've fixed up the camera a little bit. Like, I feel like we're a lot clearer, like, especially in my reactions where it was sort of just me and I was a little closer. Like, you can really see, like, the definition in my eyes and all of that stuff, right? It's not blurry. And then I also was able to fix the audio, like, in OBS, so it's not, like, you can't hear the buzzing in the background, because I used to edit that in post, but now I was able to fix it through OBS.
I'm gonna need to use OBS for something for school. So
Really?
Yeah,
What are you gonna do?
I have to
Tell them.
film myself doing a proposal for research.
I see.
So
Interesting.
it's a very weird thing, but I'm using OBS, so I might have to, like, bring my laptop in tomorrow
Maybe.
or something and be like, all right, teach me your ways.
I think we need more light, because when the light is off, the camera looks like shit, and that's what I was reading online, like, how to make the camera look better. It's all about, like, lighting,
Yes.
pretty much. And that's why I think the iPhone camera looks so good. It's because the iPhone automatically sort of deals with that shit. You know what I mean? Like, with all the lighting nonsense, and
Yes.
maybe just where we had placed it was under one of the lights, but yeah. Anyway, my computer's back, we're getting it together, and we will see you guys later. Bye. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys would like to support the channel further, if you guys want to see us make more videos, if you guys want some cool, awesome rewards, you guys should become patrons over on Patreon. Patrons on Patreon have a variety of different rewards, so some of them are being able to request videos from us, so you could ask for a shipping video, a theory video, and we'll do it. Some of the rewards have to do with early access, so getting a video a week earlier, past a week early, and stuff like that, but the most important reward is getting access, at least I think it's the most important reward, access to our Discord server where you guys can talk and hang out with us. It's lots of fun, so I hope that if you guys want to support the channel, that is the route that you will take, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.